الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن سار سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So as we continue discussing the book Bulugh al-Maram by Hafidh Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, and we have completed the chapter that he covers regarding matters that relates to Bab Nawaqil al-Wudu, so things that nullifies one wudu, that we have covered those ahadith that the author rahimahullah have mentioned regarding that particular discussion. Now we go into a new chapter that follows this discussion, where the author rahimahullah, he have a title Bab Qada al-Haja, Bab Qada al-Haja. Then he mentioned the hadith of Anas bin Malik. So it's our normal system that we'll have the hadith be read, and then we'll have a discussion regarding the hadith and what relates to this particular discussion. Wabillahi tawfiq.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam wa rasulillah. Chapter number 7, manners related to answering the call of nature. Hadith number 77, narrated Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to remove his ring when entering the khala, place of answering the call of nature, reported by Al-Arba'a, and it is malul, defective.
So the author rahimahullah ibn Hajar, he mentioned this hadith. So as the system that we have a discussion regarding the hadith have been read, then we'll discuss regarding a tarjuma of the rawi or the sahabi if he hasn't been discussed before, and also we'll go into having a discussion regarding takhrij of the hadith, that the ruling or the grading of the hadith, and then we'll discuss concerning al-fadh al-hadith, the wording of the hadith, and also the fiqh of the hadith, and also the fawahid of the hadith. So as for the hadith that is mentioned here, he mentioned the hadith of Anas bin Malik, and the chapter that this hadith has been mentioned, he mentioned Bab Qada al-Haja, Bab Qadahi al-Haja. So it is mentioned regarding Bab that relates to Qada al-Haja, that relates to matters pertaining to the person relieving of oneself. So and in some of the they mention in some of the nusakh, in some of the prints, or some of the makhtutat, some of the manuscript of the book Bulugh al-Maram, that the chapter mentioned Adab Qada al-Haja, Bab Adab Qada al-Haja. So the Adab, so this is to discuss concerning the Adab regard that relates to the person answering the call of nature. So these are things that Islam, the Sharia, have also taken into consideration and given us certain guidelines regarding how the person and the conduct that one should be mindful of and the etiquettes that the person should fulfill and carry out in fulfilling or answering the call of nature. So the ulama discuss when they discuss regarding that as for what is intent is what is the best and the proper way as outlined by Islam regarding how the person should answer the call of nature. By this they mention adab, which are these conduct, these type of etiquettes that a person should be mindful of in carrying out the call of nature. So they mention al-haja, qada al-haja. So as for this qada, which concerns the person with ada, the person that is fulfilling, carrying out the call of nature, which is al-haja. So they mention the word qada al-haja, where they mention kinaya is like indirectly, or a proper, or a person trying regarding a how to answer the call of nature by matter that relates to the person, as they would say, either urinating and also defecating. So regarding the person which to carry out these call of nature by way of urine, of the person urine or passing urine, or the person wishing to defecate, that or pass of stool, what are the adab and the etiquettes that the person should fulfill in carrying out these things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have made a part of the function of a person. So so regarding Islam, there's guidelines that one should follow in fulfilling of this. So also the Prophet of Islam also have used this type of wording, where he mentioned that he referred to the person urinating and also the person defecating by referred to as al-haja, where he mentioned hadith that is stated by the Prophet ﷺ, and the hadith in the Sahih Muslim, the hadith of Abu Hurairah anhu, where the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, إِذَا جَلَسَ أَحَدُكُمْ, if any of you were to sit, عَلَى حَاجَتِهِ, where he mentioned, إِذَا جَلَسَ أَحَدُكُمْ عَلَى حَاجَتِهِ, where he mentioned, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that if any of you sits and he wished to fulfill the call, to fulfill his needs, which is qada al-haja. So the Prophet ﷺ also referred to this act of haja, qada al-haja, where the person wished to fulfill certain needs, then as a way of referring is in a pleasant way and a way of in a noble way regarding this particular act that is done by all. So the Sharia, as we mentioned, that have given us certain guidelines regarding how the person should fulfill this by way of things to be said and also acts to be done regarding fulfilling of this need. So as the author rahimahullah will mention various hadith that will cover these different process or these different actions that a person should carry out in fulfilling this call of nature. So the first hadith regarding this matter, as he mentioned, and Anas bin Malik رضي عنه قال كان رسول الله عليه السلام إذا دخل الخلاء وضع خاتمه. Then he mentioned أخرجه الأربعة وهو معلول. So the hadith that has been mentioned, that the author rahimahullah started with the hadith of Anas bin Malik, where the Prophet ﷺ he mentioned that the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala إذا دخل خلاء, where the Prophet ﷺ when he entered the room of khala وضع خاتمه, then he would take off his ring. And he mentioned the hadith in the Al-Arba'a وهو معلول. So as for the discussion regarding the hadith regarding the tarjuma of the Rawi, who was Anas bin Malik, we have somewhat covered matters pertaining to the Sahabi previously. So we would not repeat this matter or the biography of this Sahabi, Anas bin Malik. As for the next matter regarding this hadith is at-takhrij. So regarding concerning that, now going back to referencing the source of this hadith from the books of hadith, and also what have been mentioned by the ulama of hadith regarding the ruling, the grading of this hadith. So the hadith, as for the source of this hadith, that is the source of this hadith, that this hadith is mentioned in the, as the author mentioned, أخرجه الأربعة. So Al-Arba'a, what he intends by this, the hadith can be found in the Al-Tirmidhi, rahimahullah, in his Al-Jami' or his Sunan, and also in his book Al-Shama'il. So Al-Tirmidhi, rahimahullah, that he has two books, Al-Jami', he has many books, but amongst these books that are renowned is books Al-Tirmidhi, in his book Al-Jami', which is mentioned here, intended by Kutub Ashab al-Arba or Akhraj al-Arba, Kutub Sunan al-Arba, and also he has another book called Al-Shama'il. So At-Tirmidhi rahimahullah has a book called Shama'il, which is a book that discusses concerning things that relate to the Prophet regarding his character. So this book of Shama'il is an important book regarding things that relate to the character and the mannerism of the Prophet. Then also this hadith is found in the Nasai, in his book Al-Mujtaba, Al-Sughra, and also in his book Al-Kubra. So Al-Nasai, rahimahullah, that he has two collection of books of hadith. One is called Al-Mujtaba, which is the one that is considered to be a part of Al-Arba, As-Sunan Al-Arba. And also he has another which is Al-Kubra, that this hadith is mentioned in books of those books. Also the hadith can be found in the hadith also in the Abu Dawud. So the hadith also in the Abu Dawud. Also the hadith is found in the Ibn Mاجه. So the hadith in the Ibn Mاجه. Also the hadith is found in Ibn Hibban, والحاكم, Ibn Munzir fil Awsat, also Bayhaqi and others who have narrated this hadith. So you find many who have collected this hadith. So you mention Abu Dawud, Nasai, Tirmidhi, Ibn Mاجه, Ibn Hibban in his book Al-Ihsan, or Sahih Ibn Hibban, or Al-Hakim in his book Al-Mustadrak, Bayhaqi and others who have narrated this particular hadith. So that's concerning some of the sources that I've mentioned this hadith. So regarding concerning what have been said by the ulama pertaining to this particular hadith, that you'll find that with this hadith, that you have two positions of the ulama regarding this hadith. Of the ulama who hold this hadith to be daif, weak, and of the ulama who hold the hadith to be hasan. So we have two positions or two grading of the ulama regarding this hadith. Some have taken the position that hadith is daif, and we'll discuss this, and others who take the position that hadith it is hasan. As for the criticism or the discussion regarding this hadith, that you find of the ulama who criticize this hadith, that they have mentioned amongst them Abu Dawud, the one who have narrated this hadith, or of those narrated hadith, when they mentioned the hadith Abu Dawud rahimahullah, that he mentioned or clarified that there's certain criticism upon this hadith. So when Abu Dawud rahimahullah mentioned and he called هذا hadithun munkar, that he mentioned hadith is munkar, إنما يعرف من أن جريج أن زياد ibn Sa'd أن زهري أن أنس أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, where they mentioned اتخذ خاتما من ورق ثم ألقاه. Then they mentioned wahm, that there's an error that occurs. So he mentioned that this hadith, the correct version is something other than what is mentioned here. That we have read the hadith of Anas, but there's a more correct version, not the one that he owes to be authentic, but the one that is mentioned, it is munkar, it is hadith which is weak. Also Nasai rahimahullah قال هذا حديث غير محفوظ. So Nasai rahimahullah, when he mentioned regarding concern this hadith in Sunan al-Kubra, so in Sunan al-Kubra, Nasai rahimahullah mentioned هذا حديث غير محفوظ. So غير محفوظ indicating the hadith it is weak. So that's our way of him saying the hadith it is weak. Also third of those who have criticized this hadith, also Ad-Daraqutni. So Daraqutni rahimahullah, that also have criticized this particular hadith, that he may so also Daraqutni also have criticized this particular hadith, and also of those who have criticized this hadith also An-Nawawi. So An-Nawawi rahimahullah, when he discussed this hadith, he mentioned ضعفه, that Nawawi قال that hadith is considered to be weak. Of those who ضعفه, of those who have all the hadith to be da'if, Abu Dawud, Nasai, then also he mentioned Al-Bayhaqi, then he mentioned wal-Jumhur. Then he said like Jumhur of the ulama of hadith, all the hadith to be, take the position that the hadith is da'if. Then he mentioned قال الترمذي إنه حسن. Then he mentioned At-Tirmidhi rahimahullah, all the hadith to be Hasan, فقال مردود عليه. That what this verdict, this grading that have been passed out by At-Tirmidhi rahimahullah, and now rahimahullah always mention it is mardudun alayh. It is something which is it is refuted, it is rejected by him, it is rejected. So that's concerning that of the aqwal of the ulama pertaining to this particular hadith. So of the, and also of contemporaries of the ulama who take the position of hadith da'if, that Shuaib al-Raut in his checking, editing of the book of Sunan Abu Dawud, that also he stated hadith is isnaduhu da'if. That hadith it is da'if by way of and also of contemporary Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah, of his checking of Sunan Abu Dawud, that the portion that he dedicated to hadith that is said to be da'if, that he mentioned this particular hadith and mentioned munkar. So the ulama that have passed different grading regarding this particular hadith. So that's of the aqwal of some of the ulama. Also they mentioned Ibn Asakir, also a hadith to be da'if, and others, Ibn Asakir and others who all the hadith to be da'if. So that's of those who all the hadith to be da'if. Also you have of others who all the hadith to be sahih. So that you find that Sheikh Al-Bassam, so Sheikh Bassam in his checking of Tawdi al-Ahkam, where he discussed, where he explained Bulugh al-Maram, he mentioned that, and also Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, all the hadith to be ma'lul. So Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, when he mentioned this hadith in Bulugh al-Maram, mentioned وَهُوَ ma'lul. The hadith is ma'lul, indicating, using this term, indicating the hadith it is da'if. Then he mentioned that Sheikh al-Bassam, when he mentioned this particular hadith, he mentioned that of the ulama who have criticized the hadith, and even he mentioned that Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, also all the hadith to be da'if. Then he mentioned that of those who have authenticated hadith, he mentioned فقد نقل Ibn Hajar في تلخيص الحبير تصيح, that Ibn Hajar rahimahullah in his book Al-Talkhis al-Habir, I've mentioned those of authenticated hadith, he mentioned, and Tirmidhi, who all the hadith to be sahih, Ibn Hibban, also Al-Mundhiri, where he mentioned Qushayri fi al-Ikhtira. So Al-Qushayri fi Ikhtira, who is Ibn Daqiq al-Eid. So Ibn Daqiq al-Eid rahimahullah, that his book is called Al-Ikhtira fi Bayan al-Istila, which is a mukhtasar of the book of Ibn Salah. So the book in Mustalah hadith, but he mentioned this particular hadith and also passed that grade the hadith is sahih. And also As-Suyuti rahimahullah, that also follow those mentioned. So As-Suyuti in his book Al-Jami' Al-Saghir, also he leaned toward the hadith being sahih, and also Mulghata'i. So of the whole of those of the scholars of the Hanafi, Mulghata'i, also hadith to be Al-Hasan. So you find those who all the hadith to be sahih, and those who all the hadith to be Hasan, and we have mentioned the name of the ulama who have taken their own independent their position on this hadith. And of those of Sheikh Bassam, when he met Sheikh Abdullah Fawzan Hafidullah Ta'ala, when he mentioned this particular hadith, that he mentioned that as for those who all the hadith to be da'if, that they can somewhat have certain criticism upon this hadith. The reason I mentioned one, that the wasita between Ibn Jurayj and Az-Zuhri, that there's a wasita between Ibn Jurayj and Az-Zuhri. So Ibn Jurayj rahimahullah did not hear directly, as he mentioned, إن ابن جريج لم يسمع من الزهري that Ibn Jurayj did not hear directly his hadith from الزهري. Nam, so that you have, that's one of the that was criticism that showed that is fi inqita, that is an inqita, there's a breakage in the isnad of this hadith. Then I mentioned after another criticism, I mentioned qalb al-matn bil-akhir, that also that he kind of somewhat flip the hadith, he kind of somewhat changes hadith. So this hadith, as we mentioned, that the hadith that is actually there and known, and Anas bin Malik, where he mentioned ittakhada khataman, where he mentioned Nabi alayhi wasallam ittakhada khatiman min waraqin thumma alqahu, where he mentioned the hadith that is more known, where the Prophet alayhi salam that he took a ring made of silver, thumma alqahu, then the Prophet ﷺ that he threw it away. Then and also the people there which is of gold, the one that was of gold, that he threw this one away. Then I mentioned that so the hadith was somewhat flipped. Nam, so of this of the criticism, and also they mentioned other criticism of hadith regarding concerning of the narrators in this hadith, that also they mentioned that waham, error occur by some of the narrators in this particular hadith. So errors occur in this narration according to those who criticize this particular hadith. That also Sheikh bin Baz rahimullah of contemporaries also somewhat seem as if he leaned toward the hadith being Hasan. So Sheikh bin Baz somewhat leaned toward the hadith being Hasan, but these are of the criticism of this hadith. And also Ibn Jurayj rahimahullah, that is known to be a mudallis. So Ibn Jurayj is known to be a mudallis, and as the ulama of hadith that they have placed, those people are said to be mudallis, where they narrate on people who they have heard from hadith that they did not hear. So mudallis or tadlis, you have different forms of tadlis, but in the general principle that a person who's one of his teachers that he may have heard from, he narrate some hadith upon his teacher that he did not hear directly. So that's concerning of the form of tadlis. So they mentioned that he's said to be of tadlis, and he kind of somewhat use the word ana. So he needs to clarify by saying hadathana, that he actually did hear the hadith, which he did not do, which he did not narrate the hadith in a way that indicate that he heard the hadith directly, but a way that kind of give the impression that he heard the hadith, but it is unclear did he hear the hadith directly. So that's going to form a form of tadlis, So those of the criticism upon this hadith. So you have inqita, you have al-wahm, and also at-tadlis of Ibn Jurayj. So that's concerning of those reasons concerning of the reason behind some of the ulama holding hadith to be da'if. Then, so that's concerning the hadith. So we have that discussion regarding this hadith is the hadith which is said to be da'if with some of the ulama, and we have stated their names, and also of the ulama who hadith to be hasan. So that's concerning this particular discussion regarding this hadith. As for the wording of the hadith, that it mentioned إذا دخل al-khala. So the mention concerning al-khala, meaning concerning إذا دخل al-khala, concerning the one أراد دخول al-khala. So إذا دخل, meaning the one who intends and wishes to enter the place to relieve himself. Then it mentioned that, so that's concerning what is intent. So al-khala, they mention concerning that we will call today, in today's word regarding that, the person who intend to relieve himself, to fulfill the call of nature, to answer to the call of nature. The person who wish to, as they say today, number one or number two. So the person who wish to fulfill of their needs. And mirhad, that a word khala today is somewhat called mirhad or hammam. So it's referred to as the toilet or the bathroom is referred to as such in our time. So that's concerning khala, with a person somewhat. So that's concerning with a person somewhat isolate himself from people. He isolate himself from others. Or a place that is khala, the place that is intended for the person that to relieve of themselves. Then I mention wada khatamu, where the Prophet ﷺ that he took off his ring. So I mention wada, that he took his ring off his finger and placed it down. So wada khatamahu, where he removed his ring. So I mention, so that is what is intended by this hadith, the meaning of hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ that he wished to relieve himself and to enter the place of khala, of the toilet, that area, then the Prophet ﷺ, he would remove his ring and not enter the toilet with his ring. He would not enter the toilet with his ring on. And we'll explain the reason. Where the reason of this is with the Prophet ﷺ on his ring, that as some narration it mentioned that he had written upon it, Muhammad Rasulullah. Muhammad Rasulullah. So they mention that some mention that it was written Muhammad Rasulullah was written upon his ring, and he had like three. It was written Muhammad, then below Rasul, and below Allah. So it have Muhammad, the one line. In the second line, it have Rasul, and in the third line, it had Allah. So Muhammad, Rasulullah, and that was the ring that he would use regarding as a form of khatama, that he was the khatam, that he would kind of somewhat use to sign off on documents, So regarding concerning that, as the Sheikh that they mentioned, that the Prophet ﷺ regarding that, it has three astor, three lines. One, Muhammad. The second line, Rasul. And the third, Allah. So whenever he enter the toilet area, then before he enters, he will remove his finger. So regarding concerning, so that's concerning the hadith, what is in this particular hadith. So they mentioned regarding concerning that, as for this particular hadith, the aqwal of the ulama regarding this matter regarding the permissibility and allowance is it with the hukum regarding the person removing of his ring in entering the toilet, if it has thing that has Allah names on it or things of that nature, have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala name upon it, or the members of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the mention on this matter, the Shaykh mentioned that of the ulama istadal بهذا حديث of the ulama who use the evidence من قال بقراها دخول الخلاء بما فيه ذكر الله تعالى, that of the ulama who uses hadith to say that whatever that may be worn that as and is exposed that have the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, members of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on it, then one should not enter the toilet with these things. So it could be in this form. The Prophet ﷺ, it was a ring. So the Prophet ﷺ, that he had a ring. So whenever he entered the toilet, he would remove it according to, and of those mentioned to his dislike to do so. So they mentioned that it is disliked for it to be removed. Where they mentioned that, and they say they take the position that it is something which is disliked based upon it is an action of the Prophet ﷺ. It's not something that he verbally instructed. So they said because it is mujarrad amal of his action. So what is taken from it, it shows that something which is disliked to be done. And not to the extent where it is something which is, they say, it is wajib upon a person to remove. So they say it is something which is disliked, preferable for the person not to enter the toilet with having a ring or something with the members of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon it. So that's concerning the fault of the qawl. I said that's not qawl concerning mashhur in the ulama. That's a qawl that is more prominent amongst majority of the ulama, that it is disliked for a person to take into the toilet things that have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names upon it, and of those concerned the Hanabila. So of them concerned the Hanabila, who also of this opinion, and also Ahmad rahimullah also of this view. Then they mentioned regarding concerning that, Ibn Rajab rahimullah mentioned that this position also is taken by Nasaba ذلك إلى كثير من السلف, that majority of the Salaf, that they were of the position also it is something which is disliked to be done regarding Yakra Dukhul al-Khala بذلك, with the things of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala named upon this. Then also they mentioned that there's a second opinion that is taken by the ulama. So of the ulama who take the position that it is something which is haram to be done. Of the ulama who takes the position that doing so, it is haram for a person to enter the khala with something with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala named upon it. Of the ulama who take this position that is something which is haram to be done. So those are the view between the ulama regarding that particular matter. And they'll mention that so you have those opinion regarding it is disliked, that's the majority. Those who take the position as something which is haram to enter the toilet with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala name, as a form of the person that cannot, the person not giving true reverence to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and things that possess Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names. So they mentioned a person like is a way of the person belittling things with this, with that contain or adds upon it name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they see it as something which is haram for a person to enter the khala, the toilet, with things of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names upon it. So you have those view of the ulama regarding that on that matter. Then I discuss now if that's that matter. Then the next matter regarding things of the Quran. So you have things with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala name written on it or on it. Then you have matters that regarding concern. So before we move to concern the Quran, then just kind of some of us to be more vigilant in our time. So we said that now this is regarding concerning taking rings into the toilet that have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names on it. So you might have on it, the person might have La ilallah. So a person might have a ring that on it is engraved on the ring, La ilallah. Should have Allah. Or it might have Muhammad Rasulullah. Then those things should not, because they have the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on them. Or a person ring concerning Allahu Akbar. So a person ring might be say Allahu Akbar or Allah al-Kabir or Allah al-Azam. So those type of ring with those type that things engraved in them with Allah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala name on them, they should not. According to that view, it is disliked for the person to enter the toilet with them. So if we want to be careful of this. Then you have also sometimes we're concerning people now with today's time that a person might be wearing a top that may have La ilallah on it or Allahu Akbar. So also that will fall into that category of going into the toilet with this type of clothing that have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name written on them. Or the person might be wearing a cap or a hat that has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name on it. La ilallah, Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah, and that nature. Then also that should not be done. Ar-Rahman or Ar-Rahim or Bismillah. So those things that the person should not enter. So that will fall into that category. So this will fall into the category regarding entering the toilet with things that has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names on it. So for the Muslim to be said now vigilant regarding those matters. So with that also regarding concerning that, so that will fall into those category. Then the next that they discuss between the ulama, that regarding things that regarding taking the Quran, the Mus'haf inside the Quran, inside the toilet. So thing with the Quran, whether a portion of the Quran or the full Quran, the Mus'haf inside the toilet. With the ulama, they mention it now that is something which is even more a severe case. So that even that this is even more so warned against regarding the person entering the toilet with the Quran or the Mus'haf in his hands. Then that is something that the ulama that they have mentioned is something which is not to be done. And they mentioned it is in this case considered hukum ba'duhum bi tahrim. It is something which is haram to be done. It's haram to be done regarding concerning that the Quran is to be respected and to be honored and to be cherished, and it is not to be taken in the places such as the toilet. And I mentioned wal-Qur'ani al-Majid. So showing concern the Quran is Majid, that the Quran is described as being something to be honored, and for the person to enter the toilet with the Quran, take the Quran or a portion, then it's the person of showing disrespect for the Quran. So that's concerning that particular matter. The ulama have given certain exception regarding concerning that if the person having things that if it is to be left outside that of the pass, and maybe today that with some currency sometimes you have la ilallah on it. So of the pass of the currency money that will be that certain currency that will have la ilallah on it. So they mention that if things of value that has things of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala name on it, then the person and that he doesn't want to take it inside, that to leave it outside, then it may be stolen or taken away. Then the person, then he can maybe put it or be blown away by the wind. Then or a person may put it outside and forget that he left it and kind of somewhat walk away without remembering that he left that thing outside. Then I mentioned that in that case they give an exception in those cases. So they give an exception in those cases that if the person fear that leaving that ring, that item outside, it may be stolen, or he may forget he have left it there, or taken, then it is allowed for him to put it, kind of start to conceal it and put it inside there today in one's pocket and take it inside and take that thing inside, but it's not per se open, but rather it is concealed and taken inside. And at times the Muslim that especially concerned that in the airport or in certain public areas, that a Muslim also might have a Quran and want to use the toilet, the lavatory in these public areas, then leaving outside also that would be proper. So the person in that case, that if he has a bag, put it in the bag or in his pocket, or it is concealed and not per se openly revealed, then in those cases the exception will come into play. But overall, that's the hukum regarding things of that nature, items of ring being taken into the toilet. So I mentioned the asl of the order, it is something which is disliked to be done, and as that's the position taken by majority of the ulama. So that's concerning of those masail that are discussed regarding this particular hadith, where not taking things with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names, and also the Quran, and also books of hadith. So books that are religious books, by way of books of tafsir, books of hadith, books of fiqh, books of seerah, so religious books, then also all of those will apply. Not to take these books inside of the lavatory, the toilets. Those things are not to be done inside. They'll be taken inside those places. And if the person need to, because of the circumstance of a need, then to make sure that it is concealed and covered. It is concealed and covered if he's unable to leave it in a safe place outside the toilet. So that's concerning what is discussed regarding concerning this particular hadith. Then also with this particular hadith, that ulama, that Sheikh Bassam, when he discussed this hadith, he mentioned also regarding that he discussed concerning that of the thing that he discussed concerning that the point that he discussed one concerning Khatam Nabi Islam Maktub عليه Muhammad Rasulullah, that they mentioned the Prophet Islam, that is ring that was written upon it Muhammad Rasulullah, وكان لا يدخل, and also that the Prophet Islam will not enter the khala, the toilet, with his ring, based upon those who are ready to be authentic. And that's a majority of ulama said that is something which is disliked to be done, and he would leave it outside. Then also it shows regarding قراءة الدخول الإنسان الخلاء أو مكان الذي سيقضي فيه حاجته معه شيء مكتوب فيه ذكر الله. So anything that is concerned that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala name, then the person should not take them inside this area of the also, or think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names or attributes. So things regarding the member that mention Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names or his attributes, then also the same would follow. And also said, books of Islamic books. So Islamic material also, the same would apply. Also things of clothing that will of that nature, regarding clothing or hats, then also the same will apply. Then he mentioned concerning that that قال الفقهاء إلا إذا كان دخوله به لحاجة, except if entered, they give like an exception, such as khashyata as-sarqa, that this thing will be that they give an exception that if leaving these things outside, it may be stolen or he may forget. Then this is an exception is given in those cases mentioned, based upon the qa'idah of the ulama that mentioned, أن الكراهية تزول مع العاجة, that if something which is disliked, that ruling of something being disliked, it is removed if there's a case of haja, if there's a need. So if there's a need, then the ruling of something being, the person being not allowed to take it in, then it will remove that ruling based upon a need. Then also they mention wajub ta'zim dhikrillah. It shows also from this hadith what can be taken, that the Muslim should show reverence regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name and attributes. And also said this include concerning Islamic material, Islamic books, that these things are to be revered and to be respected. Also from the hadith would be our next discussion from the hadith of the benefit that Sheikh also mentioned, that from hadith ibahatu ittihad al-khatim li-rajul, that regarding concerning this particular hadith also it shows, which is also a part of the discussion regarding that this hadith also it shows the permissibility of man wearing of a ring. So it showed the permissibility of wearing of a ring for a male. So on this discussion in brief, that you have this hadith, it shows the permissibility, and you have other hadith in the Sahih Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ, that he did wear a ring, and at point that you wore a gold ring and then you throw it away, and then the people, they follow suit in this, and it showed the impermissibility for a man to wear a ring made of gold. So gold ring is not allowed for male. As for female, it is allowed in general. Then also as for male in specific, so regarding the wearing of jewelry, which is, it is allowed for a man to wear a ring, khatam. Then they discuss, on that discussion, they discuss concerning not from fidda. They discuss regarding that, after discussion regarding concerning that as for the hukum, it is mubah. So as for the hukum, the ruling regarding a man wearing a ring, it is something which is mubah. It is permissible. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah mentioned it not to say it is a sunnah, but rather because the Prophet ﷺ, he did so, ring of a ring, for a purpose, which is that he used as a khatim. He used it as a seal regarding things that were written, and he would sign it off by this seal. That would be the ring that he wore on his finger. So he mentioned that it is, but overall it is something which is jaiz. It is something which is permissible for a man to wear a ring. Then they discuss between the fuqaha regarding the wearing of a ring for a man, that they disagree regarding, is allowed for a man to wear more than one ring? Is he just limited to just wear one ring, or is it allowed for a man to wear more than one, two, and the likes? They mentioned regarding concerning that on this matter regarding that ta'addul al-khawatim, regarding that is it permissible for a man to wear more than one ring, that the ulama, they have a discussion, or the ulama, they disagree on this matter. So there's a khilaf, a disagreement between the ulama on this matter. So of the views that are there, the first view of the ulama on this matter, that in the al-Malikiyah, that the ulama of the Malikiyah rahimahullah, they all la yajuz akthar min khatam wahid. So the ulama of the Malikiyah, they take the position that the man is not allowed to wear more than one ring. La yajuz akthar min khatam al-wahid. He is only limited to one ring according to the Malikiyah. Then I mentioned فَإِنَّ تَعَدُّدْ, if the person wants to wear more than one ring, they mention al-khatam haram. It is something which is haram upon him. A second opinion on this matter is in the Shafi'iyah. So the ulama of the Shafi'iyah, they take the position is يَجُوز مَا لَمْ يُؤَدِّ إِلَى إِسْرَافٍ. It is permissible for him to wear more than one ring if it doesn't lead to israf, doesn't lead the person being one who's overspending or waste of money. So they mention it's not israf, the person kind of somewhat so, israf, the person being somewhat, being a little bit overspending. So they mention is allowed, with the person be going over the top in doing so, of wearing more than one ring. The third opinion on this matter is in the Al-Hanabila. So in the Al-Hanabila, that are all concerned, they take the same position. Their position is that يجوز ما لم يخرج عن العادة. It is allowed for a man to wear more than one ring, based on the man to wear more than one, based upon the ada of the people of that region. So the people of that region or that area, that they see it as a practice amongst them, it's only allowed one, then a person stick to one. Or if they see it is allowed for the person to wear more than one rings, then it becomes allowed based upon the ada of the people of that area. So you might find in some places the cultural practice amongst the people in that region, they only wear for men one ring. And to wear more than one ring is somewhat looked down upon in that region, then that becomes the rule that the person should stick to. The person should stick to that practice. Or in another area, then the practice of the people, their customer practice that they would wear more than one ring. For a man, they wear two rings. Then that practice becomes what one is allowed. That becomes something allowed because it goes back to al-ada. It goes back to al-hada muhakkama. So they said that in this case, consider hada muhakkama, that whatever is the customer practice of the people, then that is what the person is stay within that. So that's the aqwal of the ulama regarding this matter. So of those who hold that it is not allowed at all, those doubt it is allowed, but it goes back to certain factors, which is either al-ada or goes back to not going over the top in spending on rings. So that's concerning that matter regarding the use of more than one ring for men, wearing of more than one ring for a male. The next matter regarding the fuqaha, in brief regarding the ring matter, that as for female, they can wear a ring on any fingers. They consider that it's allowed, that a woman can wear a ring on any of their fingers and also even on their toes. That's for women. as a form of their zina. As for man with on their toe, then not a Jews. It's not allowed for man to wear a ring or ring on their toes is not allowed, only on their fingers. Then ulama also discuss regarding between for man that him wearing ring on which of his fingers. Which finger is allowed for the man to wear a ring. So there's hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in a Sahih Muslim, the hadith of Ali ibn Abi Talib anhu, where he mentioned قال نهاني رسول الله عليه السلام أن أتختم في أصبع هذه أو هذه. Then they mentioned that, so they mentioned the Prophet ﷺ that he forbade me, Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Prophet ﷺ, he forbade me, Ali ibn Abi Talib, and that applies to all the Muslim male, for him to wear a ring on, he mentioned, on this finger and what? And this finger. And then he pointed awhama to these two fingers. So he mentioned these two fingers is what the Prophet ﷺ forbade, sababa, and the one that yali. So the Prophet, which is al-wusta. So the Prophet ﷺ that he forbade him to wear rings on his sabab, which is this finger, the one that we use in the for the tashahhud, and also the one that is next we call al-wusta. So those two he forbade. The Prophet ﷺ forbade Ali ibn Abi Talib, and also all males will also take this ruling for him to, and them, the Muslim male, to wear a ring on these two fingers, not allowed. So they mentioned by this that so why this ulama no differ regarding then which finger we are allowed, not we are allowed to wear a ring, which finger we are allowed. So with the one that we are not allowed are those two, these two. As for which one are we allowed to wear a ring, on this matter ulama now differ regarding this matter. So you find that in the Al-Hanafiyya wa Shafi'iyya that they mention يجوز تختم في الخنصر. So they mention that not that a person regarding this is the khansur, this is the small pinky finger, as they refer to it as, it's allowed for a person to wear the ring on this finger. Then they mention either on his right or his left. Where they mention that is allowed for the al-khansur yad al-yusra, which is the left finger, or yumna, duno, and no other finger. So all that the person only allowed with the Hanafiya and the Shafi'iyya to wear the ring on these fingers, these two fingers, which is the pinky fingers, whether the right or the left, and none others. As for in the Al-Malikiyya, yandib indahum, what is they see as something which is preferred, that takhattam fil yusr, in the left hand, wa yakra fil al-yamin. So all it is for the right is allowed, and they dislike for it to be done on the right finger. That's with the Malikiyya. And all also that وَيَكُونَ الْخَاتَمْ فِي الْخُنْصَ, the khatam should be on his pinky finger. What we refer to as the pinky finger is shortest finger. Then of the Hanabila, that they all concern left al-khatam fil khansar, the Hanabila, that also they take that the person also his pinky finger is allowed, and they all that it has the left is more preferred than that of the right. The left is more preferred than that of the right. So overall, that what can be taken, that is permissible to wear it on these two fingers, as some of the ulama, that but as for what is more preferred, that the pinky finger is more preferred. The pinky finger more preferred. Those who more lean towards the left than that of the right, but both is allowed. Both is allowed with depending on the different madhahib. So that's concerning that in brief regarding those matters relating to this hadith. So the shahid from the hadith is regarding qada al-haja, of the adab of qada al-haja, the person not to enter the toilet, the lavatory, the place that one wishes to relieve oneself, with wearing something that as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names, or things that have Islamic material, not to enter the toilet with these type of things exposed. And then the second, and also from the hadith they show the permissibility that is allowed for a person to wear, for men in particular to wear, offering mainly on these the two finger regarding concerning that al-khansur, which is the pinky finger, right or left, depending on the madhab of the ulama on this matter. And I will mention and the wusta also allowed. The wusta, this yali is also allowed So this all that finger beside the smallest finger is also, the pinky finger also is allowed. So those are the fingers the person is allowed to wear off the ring. Regarding the thumb, then the ulama also, a disagreement between the ulama, awla at-tark, awla at-tark. Then as for like other jewelry that we might find today regarding necklace for man, then the ulama mentioned that that's for female and a man should not wear necklace. So man wear necklace is something which is not to be done. Of other jewelry, watches. As for bracelet for man, then no, these things are for female. So even though today they have bracelets for man and bracelets for women, but general thing that those things are more so meant for female. So man should avoid wearing off these bracelets. Man should avoid wearing off bracelets. The thing, and also what we find that for female wearing off earrings, that's jaiz. And we'll discuss concerning the ulama, even discuss regarding that even for the female, are they allowed to have more than one piercing in their ears? Of the ulama who says no, only one piercing should be done. And of those who mentioned, goes back to ada, that if in the custom or practice of the people that women wear more than one, they give that, it goes back to what is the prophet, what is a practice in the woman in that region. If they see it as wearing more than one and many, then that becomes the practice that the Prophet didn't forbid regarding one or more. And also regarding concern of a man wearing off piercing of the nose. So man piercing of their ears, not to be done. One or both. Ears piercing for man is not to be done. Wearing off nose ring for a man also not to be done. So these things that a man that they tried that should not be done, those are imitating of female. Those are imitating of female. So for a man to have this masculine feature about themselves, not imitating women regarding piercing off different parts of their body. So that inshallah ta'ala will end the discussion regarding this particular hadith and the various benefits that can be taken from the hadith and other matters relating to this hadith. So it is inshallah ta'ala will end. وبالله تعالى توفيق وهذه السبيل والآخر دعوانا الحمد لله العالمين. And I forgot something.